Welcome back to another episode of Shsellsweed. I am one of your co-hosts, Mindy Galloway, Mindo Indo, and I got the lovely Jax.
Yes.
To me, my co-host. Before we introduce our guests, I'd like to just take a moment to thank all of you guys for listening. We appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Also, thank you to our sponsors, the Pocket Dispensary, the Delta Boys Dispensary. Like I always say, good menus, fireweed, great people. Make sure to come check it out. Today on the podcast, we have a good friend of mine, Adeola Adedipe, and Adeola has a brand, Aiden's Relief, which we'll talk about. And Adeola has just been such a powerful force, a good movement. She goes to the Washington, D.C. to advocate for legislation, goes to the Capitol to advocate. We got to push this cannabis movement forward in the regulations on paper. And so there are many people that go out there and do that. So thank you for dedicating a big portion of your life to cannabis advocacy, Adeola. And we are so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, guys. I love this shit.
We are very welcome to have you. And thank you, Mindy, for that wonderful introduction. Yeah. Adeola, so you have been really grinding for a long time as far as the advocacy and especially for children in need. That's really your main focus, which is really a tough focus, I think, because there's so much pushback against kids having access and things like that. But before we dive deep into all of that, I would love to just learn more about you and where you come from and how you got to where you are today. So where did you grow up at?
Yeah, so I am from the Bay Area, East Palo Alto, Fremont, San Francisco, Oakland type of area I grew up. And I implanted in Sacramento in 1996. I think we wanted to own property back then. I think rent was like $500 at the time.
Yeah.
But a little bit about who I am is my dad's Nigerian. So that has a lot to do with my roots and really getting into cannabis and holistic healing. I seen him do a lot of things growing up that I didn't really understand. He used to drink like this big root water and it was nasty. It was like brown and he would just sip on it. And now that I'm older, I knew that he was healing himself naturally.
Oh, okay. Plants, right?
What was it? The plants.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell it was. It was just like in this bottle. It had roots hanging out and shit with water. And he would just drink it. And when he was sick. And, I just knew it tasted nasty because he asked me to drink it one day and it was all bad.
Yeah.
But I'm also an entrepreneur.
Okay.
I first started with child development. That's where my roots are from, where I have my major in. But when Aiden, my son, was diagnosed with leukemia, I had to become an entrepreneur because you're in the hospital and you're there literally trying to save your kid's life and you can't work a 9 to 5. And so I'm a realtor, property management investor. I'm also a lobbyist, so I do lobby on the federal, state, and city level. And that's really where my passion comes from. That's where I got started with sharing our stories in the hospital and using cannabis as a therapeutic alternative with Aiden. I'm also a motivational speaker. And I'm a professional dancer. I really love to move my body. I've used cannabis and dancing as just a way to heal myself as well. So I do perform on professional platforms like NBA and NFL as well as, concerts and stuff like that and different private events. But with everything when all is said and done, I really just like helping people. That's what I like. That's what fills my cup up. With all of that goulash, that's who I am.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, you said you're a lobbyist. Is there certain things that you've worked on specifically that you could, talk about, like that you had to really, do like the lobbying just so people can kind of understand what that means? Because I feel like people don't quite understand what a lobbyist does. Would you mind just sharing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it might have been in 2017. Governor Brown vetoed the compassion program, and we were getting a lot of our cannabis to heal our son at the time when he was going through chemotherapy. And cannabis is very expensive, especially when you're going through a transition and you lose your job, you don't have extra income, you're trying to figure out how you're going to put food on the table and pay your mortgage. And we started showing up at the state capitol And I would bring Aiden with me. And at that time, he was really sick. He had no hair. His hair was falling out. And we would just share our stories on these bills.
Yeah.
And the first bill was SB 8. I think it was 29. It was the compassion program.
Yeah.
And we helped pass it to where dispensaries were able to give basically donated cannabis from the farmers to be able to donate to sick people who needed it for no cost.
Wow.
One of the other bills that we helped pass was the consumption lounge bill.
Yep.
A lot of us came from the core program where we actually showed up and said, hey, we want to be just like the beer and wine people. Like, come on, why do we have all these regulations? At lunch, I can have a cocktail and it's right next to the sidewalk. And with cannabis, you want to put us in the dungeons. And so being able to really share our story, that we're moms, we're professionals, we are advocates, we're regular people. And so being able to show that we have different demographics of professionalism is very nice. It's very heartwarming to see that people are starting to see us as individuals.
Yeah,
right.
Lobbying is super powerful and it is stories. So they call it testimonies, right? When you go and you talk to the different senators, legislatures, city policymakers from different places, and you guys got to tell your experience. So that's Aiden's story is incredibly powerful. I believe 2 different people that are trying to make these policies, and they hear what's going on and how cannabis has changed their life, and you can't go back from that. Like I always say, like, oh, well, they know now because I've told them myself, and I know that I've told them myself. So now when they're going to make a decision about something, it's an educated decision, and now it's on that person's part to do the right thing and to make the right decision.
I agree, because it's like, how do you deny the true facts of somebody's story when it's been told to you in person? Like, it's one thing to read something, it's one thing to listen to something, but when you have a mom sitting right in front of you telling you for a fact what they're experiencing with their own child, like, you as a senator or something, like you're saying, cannot, it's an undeniable fact. And I think that is super important for people to tell the story, and that's why we want to have you today, is to tell more of that story. Because I think a lot of people have lost a lot of the medical stuff since it's gone recreational. People don't really understand that, like, increased taxes means it's harder access for medical patients to get their medicine. And really the whole industry was based off of medical. Like, I know everybody thought that it was a recreational users were just hiding under the guise of medical, but it's turned out that that's the complete opposite. And the customers I'm seeing every day are coming in for medical reasons. May that be, mental or physical, like they use it how they use it. And so it is really important for those stories to be told.
Absolutely. And, we had to use RSO, and RSO is very hard to dose.
Yeah.
And so, absolutely. I mean, when you're hearing these testimonies, and there's something about children that make people want to react and make a difference. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can see adults get up there all day long, and we're prejudged, right? We're already judged by a story that's not even told, But when you have a child that is sitting there who hasn't lived more than 2 or 3 years and they're going through something catastrophic, people do tend to listen.
It's so crazy you say it like that, like only been alive 2 or 3 years and they're going through things that like most adults can barely get through.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That just breaks my heart. So it's like that.
I know. Don't get me crying and stuff.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm just like, gosh, yeah.
Our story started in 2016. Aiden was diagnosed with T-cell leukemia, and he was given 3 days to live. And at that point, it's stuff that you see on TV. So St. Jude commercial that comes on in the morning, you're getting dressed for work, you might get sad for like 2 seconds, and you go about your day. But when we got the diagnosis, it was real. And just thinking back to that day, it was just like, Aiden's head had swelled up to like a basketball. He had like Dalmatian dots all over his body. And come to find out that was because his lymph nodes were swollen, and that his platelets, which clots our blood, was very low. And so that's why he had all of the bruises all over his body. And I mean, I always say you can get a free education from Google, because Google told us that he had cancer before we got to the hospital. And so it just kept talking about cancer diagnosis. And, you don't want to believe it. You're like, whatever. So we get in and they give us a diagnosis. And he has 3 days to live on top of this. And so immediately He didn't qualify for any clinical trials. They had to start right away, chemotherapy, everything, dialysis. But as a mom, you're sitting there and you're just kind of wondering, like, you know, this is going to be the shittiest ride that I've ever gone on in my life, but I got to get on this shit, man. And you lose your identity, you lose your financial status, you lose your social circle, you lose everything in 3 seconds. It's gone. And you're just like, okay, we're gonna do this shit. And I remember waking up the first night. It was in the ICU, and these women were like in space suits, like space, suits. And I'm like, can I get one of those shit? Like, you know? Yeah. And I was just like, this is not my life. So fast forward, he's making a recovery. You know, he's the doctors are telling us no, and he's telling us yes. And I, after the noise, after everyone leaves, and I was just praying to God, and I was just like, Lord, like, do not take my baby from me. And I swear I got instant downloads. I got on the internet and I started Googling cannabis as a therapeutic alternative, came in contact with this little girl's story, Michaela, in Oregon, where her parents had to move to Oregon to get access to cannabis. And she had some type of weird tumor in her chest, and she was in remission in like 6 days. It was crazy. Wow. So I decided to put Aiden on RSO, and I had to learn the legalities. When you have a kid, you just can't put them on cannabis. It's going to show up in the records. You have to let the doctors know that you're putting them on cannabis. They have to have a medical recommendation. I just want parents to know that.
Yeah, was it hard when you were telling the doctors in the medical system about your choices and what you wanted to do for treatment? Because it's a treatment. There's different ways, right? Like you can use it to ease a lot of stuff, or you can use it as a treatment. And that's, I think, what you're talking about the RSO is, that it's a regimen of a very specific dosage.
Yes, it was hella hard. The doctors literally would walk out of the room when I would even mention it. Back in the days, it was not cool. We didn't have support. Us advocates out here are making a way. And so the doctors wouldn't talk to me until one day I was going over his labs, and I've always been an informational person, but they said he was stage 1, but he was really stage 2. It was like a big discrepancy, hella nonchalant. And I finally was like, hell no, I'm going to go somewhere else and get a second opinion. And that was the moment where I said, and I'm going to put him on cannabis. And then the doctor was like, okay, well, we can't say it cures cancer, but we can say that we've seen positive effects with symptoms. Mm-hmm. Immediately, I go down to a therapeutic alternative downtown in Sacramento, whoop, whoop, to Kim Cargill. I absolutely love her because she saved my baby. And I go in there, and Aiden's, he's like bald headed, and she starts talking about like what we're eating, healing yourself naturally, stuff like that. And how to use RSO. So RSO comes in a pen like this, not this big, but you can only dose it like as small as a grain of salt or a rice grain. So it's very hard to use. And you have to really know how to break it down to the milligram. And so anyways, Aiden started making a full recover.
Right? You're like, I have to dose
I have to know how. I can't just give my kid 10 milligrams. Like, this is not what this is about. So we went high CBD. We did the ACDC strain, one of a really good strain that we use. And it's all CBD and has a little bit of cannabis. So we just wiped it on his tongue and his teeth. Let me tell you, in 1 hour, I knew that we gave Aiden his childhood back. He was eating, he was sleeping, and he was being a kid. So I knew in 1 hour that I can see that my kid was living, and he was playing. He would have chemo going through his veins, and he started dancing. We started sharing our story online. I was not a very open person on social media. Like if you posted my kid on social media, I would like literally be upset. And we started sharing our story, and people started giving people hope. People who were lawyers or people who were conservatives started believing in using cannabis. And then we started saving lives. People would literally email us and they would say, I was going to commit suicide today, but I saw Aiden's story and he's fighting for his life. I guess I might stay. And so, Aiden, he's a community, he's like a very local star right now because of his story.
Wow. Can I ask like a kind of I have two questions for you. Is it only RSO extraction that really works for like what you're using it for, or do you find that like maybe like the hashes or like the rosins and stuff like they're making like non-solvently, do you think that those would have the same kind of effects, or do you think there's something really special with, for some reason, like the way that RSO is extracted and made is like it has something so different than the other forms of extraction?
Yes. So, I mean, I'm also a cannabis counselor. I think all of us are at our local dispensary here. And, you know, as an adult, there's different methods, right? So I won't go down the rabbit hole. If something works for you as a cancer patient and that is what your body likes, the method that you like, use it. But for children specifically, people who cannot have sugar because cancer feeds on sugar, RSO is the best form because back in the day you use ethanol, or you can use 151
alcohol. 99%.
Back in the day we didn't really know how to dose it, but it's just the purest form. And then when you're using Rick Simmons oil or FSO, full spectrum oil, or the other forms of RSO now, depending on what it's washed with, if it's with ethanol, if it's with butane or whatever it is, right? It helps with the endocannabinoid system. And so basically, like, what it does is when you're using the RSO, you need high doses of cannabis during your process and your treatment. So you want to start off low, but there's a point where, you know, you're really trying to starve this cancer out. And the best way to describe it, I'm not a doctor, but cannabis comes, it knocks on the door of a cancer cell, it gives it a birth date, and then your body starts learning how to kill off the cells naturally. By giving it a birth date, you get a death date.
Interesting. That's really very interesting. The other question I have for you is like, with your kid, you know, there might be people listening that have considered cannabis, but they're afraid of like their kid being high, right? And like feeling effects. Has your son ever like come to you and said like, I don't feel good or whatever? Or do you think that that's why you're so like intentional about that dosage, is to like prevent that kind of situation? Because I think all of us have been in a situation where we've ingested cannabis and maybe it was a little too much or whatever. But you also did say that it's like CBD is mostly what you're using with him as well. It's not so much THC stuff. But have you ever had like an experience like that?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. I mean, you know? Aiden was 2, so I literally would take what he was taking as a parent because I wanted to know what was happening in my body as well as him, and started using anatomical records. And I think that is a pivotal moment for everyone to use every method of cannabis. Use a topical, get a tincture, because there's going to be different things that you're going to be going through. Like if you have dental work, you want to use a capsule or something, right? So there were times where like, oops, this might have been a little bit too much for him, right? Because I didn't give him any of the Nubane, which is a form of morphine, because he woke up and he was trying to hit the nurses. Like as a mom, you're like telling the doctors like, okay, does he really need this drug, or is this a side effect from the drug that you just gave him? So I was really advocating in the hospital. So when he come out of surgery, I give him a little more cannabis to where he was like feeling a little more of the effects, but at least he wasn't on Nubane. Yeah. You know what I mean? I had to really learn how to dose him. But so as a parent, you have to educate yourself about how you're going to break down the cannabis to the milligram. And so Aiden's dose was 10 milligrams of CBD and like 0.25 milligrams of THC. So the THC is going to make him feel better, but he's not going to be high. He's going to be his true self.
Right. Well, I've always told people that too, like, you know, that when you're in need of the medicine healing, like you're not just taking it, your body seems to not have the same response to it. Like when I went through something a couple years back, I had a lot of pain. It's like I was taking huge amounts to where if I was to take that right now, I'd be knocked out, but I didn't really feel the effects. So there's definitely something with the body and cannabis that's like, when you're really using it medicinally, it doesn't make you high the way like somebody's using it just in a recreational.
It's that part of your body. Yeah. So you're like,
that's getting healing. Yeah.
The experience is different.
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to describe that. But yeah, so I guess like with your son, it's like that's what he needed. So it just brought him up to a normal level. It didn't like make him feel high necessarily.
Yes. And his labs. So this is the crazy part. So anyone who is going through cancer, they have an A and C number. They take their labs, they take their neutrophils, spits out a number. Anything under 500, a cancer patient cannot go outside because they don't have enough white blood cell counts to fight against infection.
Wow.
And they're very sick. Yeah. And so Aiden was at 0 for almost 30 days, literally in the hospital, trying to get him out. When we gave him cannabis, he was consistently at 1,000 milligrams, 1,000 ANC neutrophils in his body. Even when he was sick, he was constantly had enough white blood cells to count to fight, because when you're taking chemotherapy, chemo comes in, it takes everything. It takes the food, nutrition, everything, your white blood cell counts, red blood cell counts, and then the cancer patient is left with what is left for food and to heal or fight against infection, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was at 1,000.
Wow. That's incredible. So it almost turned on the body's natural, I don't know, regulational systems, to start making his body heal himself instead of just staying in the chemo state where it had killed everything. That's so cool.
Yeah, the body is a beautiful thing. It's regenerative and not working. Oh, that's incredible.
It basically puts the car on the right track. And so I was so thankful for Arso because I knew if we had a bad day, because there were bad days. So, I talk about my spirituality because cannabis goes hand in hand with spirituality. And I would literally pray to this plant and pray for the medicine. And if he had a bad day, when I'm talking about a bad day is when you have to do blood transfusions and platelets and your kid's spitting up blood. It's these procedures are very scary when you're going underneath and you're getting scans and stuff. But I would give him that RSO the day before if he was struggling. And I knew his labs the next day were going to look good. And they were 99, I would say 85% of the time.
That's incredible.
And
information too, data that you can't say that it doesn't help or affect anything. This is proof. This is the true story of it.
Yeah, so we started sharing the story and advocating on a city, state, and federal level. I am so thankful for women in weed because back then it was not a lot of us. And I'm sitting at the table and showing up, opened up a lot of doors. And Aiden's relief came from it. So my goal is that I can pass this down to Aiden because he's the story of the brand. But just seeing how far we've come in the industry, right? And we're still fighting. And absolutely, you made a comment earlier, Jack, about now that we're recreational, a lot of people do not know about education. And it's true. Please educate yourself. Support education with cannabis. And it's always been, what is it? Patience before profit.
Yeah. For a lot of us. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's always been that way. I think it's more about sustaining the business or the grow or whatever you're doing to pay the employees and stuff. But it's not about a margin or a bottom dollar. It's about sustaining a system to keep people from suffering, basically. And that's what I think people don't understand when they hear patients over profits is that it's what profits we get goes back into the system to make more medicine, to help more people, not to make sure I can have a new Corvette. And I think that really got lost in weed big time, hugely, hugely. It's very lost. And it's really sad because now, even the state, back to the taxes, is trying to profit off of it. And it's really ruining it for patients.
Yeah. Well, as a lobbyist, we had to, I'm going to keep it real, right? Keep it real. When we advocate at the city and state level, we have to tell them we're going to give you some of this, right? Yeah. And then they start lumping it in other programs that rely on us. And then what ends up happening is that we can't sustain because we are being taxed. I don't know another business industry that is taxed as more than cannabis. Do you guys know?
The only tax that is anywhere near the cannabis is called a capital gains tax, when you make money, real money, and then they tax you on it. That's the only time that I know of any tax that touches 25, or I guess if you're making over $250,000 a year, your taxes could be that, but that is the only place where, and that's a lot of money, you know what I mean? And I feel like these businesses are not remotely profiting at that level, so we should not be being taxed at that level. It's It's crazy.
Really hard. So going to, the places that you're advocating for taxes, and the people on the opposition, the other side, are like, we use this for youth programs. Like, we use this for real things. And we're on the same side being like, yes, we want to be able to fund those. But if our industry doesn't do good, then it doesn't work at all.
It's true.
And having these conversations, that's hard to be on the opposition for. But hopefully this tax freeze, takes effect, and we don't have a raise in excise tax, just a real thing that's happening right now. So.
And I think that we should just be treated like any other industry. I'm a full-fledged entrepreneur, like real estate, whatever it is, dancing, we're just treated differently. And so I always say, I'm going to keep it real. I feel like we're the cockroaches of the industry, guys. I just do. To a certain extent, right?
We're going to survive.
I've said this at City Council. We are the cockroaches of the industry because the shit is real.
We're not going to shut it down. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
We just keep on going. You can't kill us.
But you know what? That's true. You can never kill a damn cockroach. It's hard.
It is. Yeah. No, and they've tried. I mean, they've tried it every which way. So many people have come into the industry to try.
It's small business. Small business just is not favored, and that fucking sucks. And it's hard for a small business to survive.
I think it was a trip when I found out that Walmart, and I think it was I don't know, there was other business corporations that were only being charged, I think, $500,000 a year. I think it was something like that. And the cannabis small business people altogether were like paid surpass that. I think that was like
they have a cap. They have like a crazy cap on like the operations tax, where they were only paying like $5,000 a month or something.
$500,000 a year was all they had to pay.
Yeah, I went up there to the city council and I was like, these people, they use slave labor. Like, they use hella crazy stuff in order to make their products that they sell with higher profit margins on everything. Everything we make is from people's hands, things that we're doing, and they don't have to pay as much in tax as we do. Like, there's different ways to move things around so that like the kids can get their funding. Like, let's fund these programs. Like, let's use these big corporations, these other industries to fund these programs. So
yeah, I think you were told it should be spread around. I mean, if you're going to tax cannabis this hard, you should tax everybody else this hard, especially because they're outsourcing everything. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, none of it, And
they don't have to go through half of the stuff that we have to. So kudos to all the survivors, advocates, the warriors, owners, cultivation, manufacturing. One thing I would say as a manufacturer, I am so appreciative of every damn label that is on a ketchup bottle or whatever it is, because there's somebody who put that on there that we don't know who that person is. So thank you for everybody in the industry.
I agree. It's so crazy when you guys break it down like that, because it's like every step is like a human hand, a person, a real person living here in California, like contributed to that, So like this weed we're smoking. What is this right here again?
This is Sense.
Oh, it's Sense. So, yeah, that's all handmade. Mm-hmm. Everything. I mean, I think the only thing that probably wasn't handmade is the part that's holding it, right? I guess those papers are handmade too, but just not in America. I think those are raws.
Yeah, I think they're something else.
I think they make all handmade in Spain. Remember that was the big deal with them. But anyways, but yeah, no, it's all handmade for sure. So
yeah, I'm appreciative of the plant getting to the dispensary, and I don't know. Sometimes I get frustrated and people come in and they just treat it like, I don't know, soda can. I'm like, you have no at least we're still fighting.
Yeah,
we're still fighting for the plant. I guess that's where I'm coming from.
I think there's always going to be a disconnect between the consumers and the producers. Like a lot of people, it happens with food a lot. Like people, don't realize like there's people actually like having to move those cows around and do all that, to like make it where you have a nice steak at the grocery store, like there's definitely always, I think, a big disconnect.
So behind the scenes of how your stuff gets to the store.
Yeah, it gets to the store,
Very involved process.
It is. Yes. Seed to sell it's an intense process.
But I mean, there's no other medicine, plant, well, there's another medicine, pharmaceutical, whatever, right? That is an umbrella that takes care of so much. Like, takes care of anxiety, depression, pain. You can use it to work out. You can use THCV to work out, CBN to go to sleep. You know what I mean? All of those things. Like, I remember popping Motrin when I was a kid because I had really bad menstrual cramps and things. And I mean, now to this day, my kidneys are all messed up because of all the damn Motrin.
Yeah. Those pharmaceuticals will everything will get you. Tear your body down too. It's like the opposite effect that you want.
So I'm grateful that the plant does that. It's so universal. It takes care of so much. And then once you start microdosing and understanding how to use it, I mean, I don't take any pharmaceuticals. Literally, if I go to the dentist, I'll take, RSO. If, I'm having back pain, I'm going to use a topical. You know what I mean?
So Aiden's Relief. So you said that's a brand. So what does that brand make? And where can you find it?
So, I mean, Mama Bear right here is the one who does everything. So I'm a very small brand. Like, I don't have any employees. I market and manufacturing S license with leukemia. Mindy here is like my sister, and she's really helped along a lot of women along the way. But we package flower. So we source flower. We really try to find legacy strains, like the old school strains, like the Granddaddy Purp, real Granddaddy Purp, you know what I mean? And then we try to get it to the consumer at a very affordable cost, because again, our brand is holistic in health and healing. And so a lot of people can't afford the $50 eighth. They can't afford it. So what we do is we source and then we pack at Camilla, and literally I'm in there. We're weighing on the scales, and we're just having a good time, and we're putting the labels on it. And then we sell to our local dispensaries, and we had to start with flower. I mean, I would have liked to start with RSO, but again, a lot of people don't know how to use it. You can have a bad experience RSO because it's almost like the strongest form of cannabis before like all of the hashes and the concentrates and stuff. That was like the first thing you use. But I want to branch off to topicals and, drinks and stuff like that. The stuff that I use with Aiden.
Right. Yeah. RSO is very intimidating for people because you got the syringe. It's hard to get it out. It's quite a thing.
It's a process.
It's not an easy open up, eat a couple gummies. So,
and our brand really likes to teach people how to use cannabis. So that's our brand with holistic healing. So we want to teach you that you can take an eighth or whatever, put it in a crock pot. You can make RSO, you can make butter, you can make a topical, and how to really be.
Where can they find Aiden's Relief at?
Aiden's Relief is at the local dispensaries. I know Pocket does carry it sometime, as well as a therapeutic alternative, but hopefully we'll be at the state fair this year. We did it last year with the Equity Trade Network. We are CORE. CORE means that you're a minority, you've been affected by the war on drugs. Like, it gives you an opportunity to get into the cannabis industry on a lower level, get breaks, but we are equity. And so a lot of the equity operators are boots on the ground running.
Yeah.
So that's where you can find us, hopefully.
Yeah.
Just keep buying from me, please. I need some help. I would tell you guys.
Go see at the state fair. Go to the state fair.
Yes.
Go check it out. It'll be a lot of fun. And we had so much fun last year.
We did.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was really
Shout out
great.
to Equity Trade Network.
Yes, Equity Trade Network. For reals.
Well, there's a lot going on with the equity world right now. We just had Nina Parks on. That was our last episode.
I love Nina.
And then by chance, there was a bunch of stuff going on with LA about, how there's just not equity is not really being given in the industry.
Yes.
It's a really hard fight right now. Obviously, you're experiencing that.
Yeah, they watered it down.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm going to keep it real. Remember, I told you I'm always going to keep it real with y'all. So we have cohorts, and this is how we did in Sacramento. We were pretty far behind, LA and the Bay Area. They were doing well with equity. They had better systems, but still some glitches, right? And so really wanted to go back to people who were really affected by the war on drugs. Mm-hmm. And so, they give us the dream and advocating for many years where it used to be profitable. I remember where you can walk into a dispensary and you can literally have nothing with nothing on it. You know, they were selling, you know, pre-rolls and topicals back in the days, and it was so equitable. I remember like the bud tenders, we would sit and we would, you know, they were able to like run a business and make extra money doing it and feeding their families. And so now we have a lot of that where people are barely able to pay their bills. And so, I mean, the Equity Trade Network, I mean, it's great. We need camaraderie. We need, like our friend Deanna Garcia says, link arms and rise together. Yeah. Like we have to in this industry. But equity I feel is watered down because I feel that a lot of people had to really take classes and really be invested in cannabis. And then I think that the law of opportunity should be there for everyone. I'm really being careful with my words right now because I want to keep it real, but I want to respect the process. But when you have a lot of people thinking it's a gold rush, and now equity is not as fruitful, it's not as valued, it's not like your cognac. It's more like, you know, something undervalued now. We're still fighting the same fight. Now it's like equity is not really equity. You give us the debt and we're going to be able to have a business and have a life change in doing something that we really want. But how long are we going to be able to sustain and stay in the game? I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
I know it is really complicated because it's like you said, like they gave you equity, but it's almost like fake equity, like in a way, like it was.
Well, you have to put everything into it. Like, if this doesn't work, like you're in debt. Like this is real life stuff. You put time, you put effort, you put money, you put everything, your heart, your soul. And if it doesn't work, then, you know, what are you going to do? So you have to push forward and you have to try and make it work as much as possible.
Yeah. And it's still federally illegal. Like, you know, like thank you for the advocates and the people showing up at the state level, because now we're being seen as being like hopefully a Schedule 3, you know what I mean? Like, not up there with heroin. Cannabis is not heroin. I'm sorry.
I'm still rooting for decriminalization on a federal level and let the states regulate it. Really is what I would like to have seen, because I don't want the federal government to have their hands in it. We already see what the states do with it. I couldn't imagine what would happen on a federal level.
Well, Mary Jane already talked to me. So Mary Jane has told me this. So, you know, my husband, he works for this company that is out of sometimes the UK. And in the UK, cannabis is kind of like, oh, you got some apples, you got some tomatoes, like I got some blue dream, you know what I'm saying? Like regular crop. like we just swap. They don't see the plant like that. So I feel like Mary Jane has already told me that they got to take the profit out of it. She was never meant to be profitable like it is now, but you can still be profitable, if that makes sense.
No, you're
commercialized.
There you go, commercialized.
That's what happened, is that it became a commercial industry through the regulation.
Yeah, and it's more of an agricultural crop. I mean, that's what it's regulated as, supposedly in California. And if you look at farmers, like I grew up in a very farming county, Yolo County, and I grew up around people that like have farms, and you know, everybody always thinks that they have a lot of money because they have this land, but they really only make enough money to like keep it going, which is very similar to cannabis. The only difference is that they're not taxed like we are. Like they don't get a 30% tax when you go to the store and buy walnuts. You know, it's just the normal sales tax, you know? So agriculture on a whole level is very, very, very hard. And then to commercialize something like a tomato or an apple would be very odd, you know, it'd be very difficult. So wow.
Yeah, but I mean, the history, I mean, what was the first strain? Sativa L or something like that? Back in the days, like the laws back in the days. Remember they had those crazy laws that cannabis made you be a zombie? Remember? I'm not
reefer
like
madness.
Crazy here.
No. You're talking about reefer madness. Yeah, the reefer madness. Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember
the devil's lettuce.
Those like clips where they're like playing the piano. They're like,
I'm like, okay. So we've come a long way.
We really have. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre to think of that time, you know, that people really had a thought about weed like that, which is just so
Yes, it's very odd. I see the magazine covers all the time, and sometimes I think that they're like a fake like coloring book, you know? And they're like, no, this was real. People really have this in their homes. Okay.
As time goes on, things are changing so much. But there's so many people who live through all of that, and like that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Because that's the generation that can benefit the most.
Right.
Also through because like they're on a lot of pharmaceuticals, they're in pain. Like there's
Yeah. The Catholic Pope guy died recently, and they were showing his birth date, and he was born in 1932. And I was like thinking about it. I was like, man, like to have seen all of that time, like that's crazy. Like there's so much has happened.
So how old is he? I mean,
like 90 something.
Okay,
I'll do the math.
I'm like 32. Okay.
Or maybe it was 37, but either way, it was like 1930. Still, like, so he grew up through like the 40s, 50s, and 60s. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
but I know he's not. I mean, I wonder what he's eating like to live that long too.
well,
back
they
in
are
the
the
day.
Catholic popes. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he just dropped dead after Easter. You know, we're like, okay. They said pull the plug, like he's done.
Man.
Oh my gosh, but yeah, no, you're right. I mean, food back then, yeah, he would have been 88 years old.
Okay.
If he was born in 1937. So
all right. Awesome.
Yeah, which is crazy because like, you know, like I was born in the 80s. I think you guys were probably born in the 80s, right? Like
80s baby. 82.
Yeah. See, it's like, and like just what we've seen in like the jumps of like technology are kind of crazy. And so I couldn't imagine. I always like to think about what weed will be like in the future, you know? Just out of curiosity.
Please stop messing with the plant. That's all I have to say. Don't let me get on the hemp drive. I come from hemp. So
I know a lot of people are for hemp, and I run the fence on it because like there's a part of me that likes it, but there's the part of me that really gets upset about the isolations. Yeah, the isolations of cannabinoids I think are not safe, and I think that they're going to have problems, which goes back to like a full spectrum like product.
Absolutely.
There is a difference. I'm sorry if you take a gummy that's like a rosin gummy that's like more of a full spectrum product versus like an isolated product, like there's a difference in the effects.
Yeah, you feel it.
Yeah.
Well, it's a public health issue. So I come from the hemp. Okay, that's where I started. I had to go there.
Except for the CBD part.
So this was when Aiden. So this is my journey to actually getting into the cannabis industry. Yeah. So I knew that I had a passion at this point. I was in the hospital. I became the cannabis mom. A lot of the parents who wanted to use cannabis but were scared to ask, they would come see me. And so I knew that. Okay, well. Thank you, God. Like you're opening up a way for me because I had to rebuild my whole identity. And so I started selling CBD water. All I needed was a seller's permit and a DBA. Okay. That was it.
Okay.
And I had cases of CBD. And I would be at farmer's market and I would make 400% of my profits.
Oh my
God. Yes. Yeah. You know. But I started with CBD and Aiden was using CBD. The only thing I realized was that it was just enough to make you feel better, right? So CBD does have its space. Hemp has its space. It made me feel better. And my attorney friends or people who were scared to even associate themselves with the plant was okay with CBD because you can get at a gas station or in a store. And, but then you start learning about manufacturing. And so now that I'm on the cannabis side, I'm like, oh, hell no. I made 400%. Cannabis industry is not making 400% on their stuff. And it was so easy to get into the market. So right now what they're doing is taking the plant and they're washing it. That's the best way to describe it, and leaving cannabinoids and having it test at a certain level. And it becomes a public health issue because we get lumped in with CBD when people are going to the ER and they're tripping. It could be hemp. It's not like regulated. Like we have all the red tape. We have to get it tested for all of the mold.
A lot of intoxicating hemp that's out there now that is not. And like some of it's synthetic. Like that's been a topic that I wish I knew more about too. Like the synthetic cannabis, like hemp, not cannabis, the synthetic hemp that's out there that is getting everyone. You can get sick. There can be like different problems, and it shouldn't be a thing. And then they can sell it anywhere.
Yeah, and some of it's imported. Some of it's imported from different countries or whatever. And so,
I worry about what they're putting in it because like there's all those designer drugs nowadays, like the spicy bath salt, all that kind of stuff. But that stuff's still coming into this country. And I worry about what they're putting in there that might be one of those types of drugs, but they're labeling it as a CBD drug, and like who knows what you're really taking. Like,
yeah, I remember going to sessions, and I think after I started educating myself, that's why it's very important for everyone to have education when you're looking for the label. And the dispensary is going to tell you 10 milligrams, one gummy, whatever, and here is the testing. And when you go to those places, or if you've ever have been, look at the labeling. Like, you ask the people, like, how many milligrams is in here, and they're, I don't know, 400, 500. And so people are consuming these things. And so, yes, absolutely, it's very dangerous. I come from the hemp market. You know, it has its place, but I feel that we all should be regulated the same, go through the same testing, pay the same taxes, and then we can get somewhere.
Yeah, it is the same plant, really.
It is.
It's just a different variety, but it's like purple tomatoes versus red tomatoes.
Yeah.
So, well, I think this is a good point for us to take a quick break. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back, everybody. All right. We're going to take a quick moment to shout out our amazing sponsors who help us keep the show rolling. Big thank you to Delta Boys Dispensary and Smoking Lounge, located at 66 Main Street, Ileton, California, and the Pocket Dispensary, holding it down at 1195 Florin Road, Sacramento, California. Both spots are open 7 days a week, serving up the top-tier products, unbeatable prices, and that next-level customer service. Plus, you're always going to see those friendly faces that always make you feel right at home. Now let's get back to the show. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for staying with us into the second half of this episode. And we're going to continue on this conversation about the hemp industry and the cannabis industry, and kind of roll that into a little bit about usage and why it's so important to go to your local dispensary and not go to your local head shop for medical advice or for usage of cannabis, because it's really not safe. So we were saying that it basically is, it's the same plant, should be regulated the same. And it's kind of not a safe space because you don't know where it's coming from. You don't know where the source is. And that is one thing about dispensaries, not only the testing, but the track and trace portion of it is actually, I can tell you exactly where it came from. I can tell you exactly who grew it and trimmed it and everything because of the safety nets, if you will, that's in the regulated industry. So you said medical consulting that you do. Is that something you do at a certain location, or somebody like privately books that with you? What's that kind of look like for you?
So, we'll go to a therapeutic alternative, pocket dispensary. Like, we all like, education is very key. So I brought Aiden to a therapeutic alternative, and we went through his process. He's cancer free. He's in remission. Thank God. Still going strong. And I ended up going through the core program, Equity. We talked about Equity. And now I work at a therapeutic alternative as a cannabis counselor.
Wow.
And then with Aiden's Relief, I give out free consultations. Anyone can contact me around the world. I'll give you a free consultation and teach you just how to use cannabis, dose it, and how to work with your body.
That's huge to be able to do that for people.
Yeah. I mean... God said you got to get back. I say, baby, you got to get back. And so that's like my passion. I'm just trying to learn not to burn myself out, but I will help anybody, you know?
Right.
So yeah, I do cannabis consultations. So back to the hemp. Yes, absolutely. Hemp, if we can do the same plant, same regulations, that way the plant can't be washed with different type of weird cannabinoids that don't make any sense.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. But with your consulting, is it that you are wanting to consult only like serious medical people, or are you interested in consulting people that like maybe they're trying to just learn how to use it for themselves for like minor issues, not necessarily big issues? You also do that as well? Awesome.
Absolutely. So I even consult on even the industry within itself. So I mean, when we consult, this is how I was taught at the dispensaries that I just mentioned, is we always ask their experience, what method that they're going to use, because I'm not really a smoker. Like, I love edibles and tinctures and topicals. Those are like my jam. But getting that person to figure out what type of method they want to use, and then what there's dosing. Like, if someone comes in and they're taking 50 milligrams, you sure they aren't going to give them, a dab.
No.
Never dabbed in my life, actually.
Really?
No, hell no.
Wow.
I'm very sensitive to cannabis. I'm not trying to be in outer space. I like to be my true self, but there's nothing wrong with dabbing.
It's a destination. If you want to go there, you go there.
But I also just try to teach people to use it as a tool.
Okay.
So like when I was saying, like when to use a topical, I love the cannabis drinks. Like I can't drink. I don't like drinking. I don't like the way that it makes my body feel. So I do a lot of the cannabis drinks when I'm going out. People think I'm having a beer or something. And I'm like, no, this is 10 milligrams. Tell me.
I love that too. I don't drink alcohol myself, and so I love being able to have something to socialize, to have fun with, to hang out.
Yeah.
You were mentioning workout. What can you share a little bit for people that work out how cannabis can be beneficial? Because I feel like a lot of people think cannabis not good for people who work out because
Absolutely.
of munchies and stuff. So would you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So THCV is really good for working out. High CBD and a low THC is really good for working out. So I love to move my body. Like I have been a dancer. I think it's the Nigerian me. Zumba is like going to the club. Like I love it, just especially as a mom. But there is a difference when I work out without using cannabis and when I work out with using cannabis. It's just like you're in your body, you feel your body, the pain is not there, my back is moving. So, for your athletes who like pre-workout, and if you're sensitive to sativas, because, sativas, sometimes the cops come in on sativa. So THCV is a stimulant. And so I talk about my kidneys, right? My kidneys is one of those things that I have to watch because of the Motrin and drinking hella caffeine and no water and shit when in our 20s. But I was able to use THCV as a stimulant in the morning. I would put it in a tea or whatever. I would get a caffeine type of high, but you can also use it to work out.
Yeah.
So it stimulates you. It feels like a pre-workout. Like you have the CBD, so you can use that for workout.
Yeah, I've taken a high dose of THCV before, and you have to be.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It made
low.
It stimulated I took 50 milligrams of it because I was like, oh, this is
That's high.
I was like, whoa, I felt I don't know, I felt crazy. And since then, I'm like, anybody who comes in, they're like, yeah, I want the most THCV. I'm like, look, be careful.
Try mixing THCV and CBG together.
CBG is really stimulating too.
I didn't like it.
People have been saying,
again.
Yeah. There's those CBG tablets that you can get now from I think it's
Emerald Bay.
So people said that if you take a high dose of it, it's a unique experience.
So CBG is really good for gut health. People who have GI issues, it's also good. It's also like a CBD as well too. CBG can also be good for depression and type of mental illness.
Yeah, that's usually what I tell people. When they ask me what CBG, I'm like, it's good for mental stress, mental stuff, not so much body stuff.
Yeah, it's good for your brain.
Yes,
it's very well, it's regenerative. So
yeah, and it's the mother cannabinoid.
Yes,
it's the first cannabinoid.
It is the mother cannabinoid. Yeah, that is the grandmother of
all of them. Yeah, it's super interesting.
I like the THCV tincture. I'll take that one.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, and THCV is really good for diabetics that are out there and who want to lose weight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because it doesn't make you eat.
No, it does not make you eat.
Interesting. One that's coming up a lot, I don't know if you guys have seen it, is the CBC. And I'm not quite sure what that's all about. Have you?
So CBC is kind of weird. It's kind of like the helper.
Okay.
It helps with your communication skills. It kind of takes the cannabis and moves it to the receptor. So whatever is already in CBC, which you usually see CBC with THC or something else, it kind of enhances.
It's like a bridge. Helps bridge.
That's how it was described.
Because there's only a certain amount that gets absorbed. So you intake, right? And I wonder if that helps absorption or have it go into your bloodstream.
I have a funny story. So I had a friend hit me up, and she had this thing that said CBS on it, and it had and I was like, what is this? So I'm like, maybe I'm missing some. So I start googling it. Finally, I show it to somebody, and they go cannabinoid total cannabinoids or something that's abbreviated to, and I started laughing because I sent it to her, and she's like, oh my god, that's what I came up with too. But everybody's getting confused because there's all these crazy crazy things coming out, and everybody's like, what does all this mean? You know, but it was really funny because I was like, I don't know what that is. Like, I've never heard of that. But it just meant like total cannabinoids. Like that was their abbreviation for it. But it was like tripping her out because she's like, what is this? It has 1,000 milligrams of it.
And there are like new cannabinoids coming out
all the time. Yeah,
some new shit. And then, you know, if everything goes federally, the hypothesis is that they're going to grow cannabinoids in yeast, which is
that's weird.
Good, but it's not good, right? Not good. Because yeast can become toxic, right?
Yeah.
But the good thing about it is in the hospitals, then you can isolate some cannabinoids to use it in a hospital. So I mean, yes, you understand what I'm saying, but
I worry about the isolation.
Like why do it? Why do it if you don't have to do it?
Leave the plant alone, please.
They just want to move it away from the plant so they can have control over that, really is what it is. But I think that's what goes back to the full spectrum. Try to stay as full spectrum as possible, not buy those isolated products. The other one too, what's the other one that we've been seeing? Delta 9 and then Delta 8. That's in the hemp world. Those are kind of weird. I don't know how to really describe those to people when they ask me. Do you have a good way to describe it?
Delta 9 is a synthetic cannabinoid that has been altered. Oh. So basically the best way to describe it is if you go to Texas, there's places that look like dispensaries. Yeah. And it's same brand as what you see in dispensaries, but it's Delta 9.
Yeah.
So Delta 9 is basically washes away. They take the plant and they basically wash away cannabinoids to get it to a certain percentage and to isolate the Delta 9 cannabinoid because it's federally legal. Mm-hmm. So you can ship it across state lines. The only thing is that anecdotal records, people say that they feel like their body is high, but their mind isn't. Mm-hmm. So it's a very different type of feeling, unnatural feeling. I would say.
I don't think I've ever tried it myself. That's true.
But it's synthetic. Yeah, you do feel like a high, right? But it's very synthetic, and that's why hemp is dangerous because it's not natural.
Right.
You don't know what you're ingesting or what they're washing.
And the Delta 8 is the same thing. It's just them washing away to get to this like really small percentage into a big percentage kind of an idea. Then I don't know. I don't trust that because if it's coming in the plant at a really small level, then maybe there's a reason we shouldn't be taking it at like a high level. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like that is very scary. Yeah, the hemp market's very, very scary for sure.
Yeah, but education, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And people going to the ER, it's not us. It's most likely not people who are getting their cannabis from dispensaries. It's hemp because one cookie can be like, I don't know, 250 milligrams or something like that. It's like, and when you break that down to a concentrate, that's very
And like you said, it makes you feel an unnatural high, which is a really it's not a nice feeling because if you were to take 200 milligrams of something I gave you from like a regulated cannabis, I mean, you probably might not feel very comfortable, but it's not going to feel like an out of body kind of crazy feeling. So you're probably just going to go to sleep most likely.
And that's why it's good to know like your dosing, right? Yeah. Like I just said, you know, I'm going through some things right now, so I'm really sensitive to THC. So like 25 milligrams is not going to be a ride that I want to be on. Like give me 5 milligrams, you know? So just teaching people like, you know, that gummy might look hella good, but you better just take a little piece of it and set a timer on your watch for an hour and 25 minutes and see how that works out for you before you take more.
Yeah. Yeah, really. Yeah. Cause it's like the first onset, like you might not be that high, but then an hour later, it's a different experience altogether.
You're like, get me off this shit. And by the way, you can take CBD if you're too intoxicated. It will bring your high down. Yeah. I don't know that either.
It's a little safety net, right?
Always have a CBD tincture handy just in case.
Yeah. But just the different things that people come into the dispensary as a cannabis counselor. And you can hit me up on Aiden's Relief on at Instagram if you want a consultation. But doing consultations, you'd be surprised about, you know, just what their experiences are, you know, and how they really need the education because, you know, when you go to a pharmacy to get it from the pharmacy, they tell you to take, you know, one pill or whatever, you know.
Yeah, you get a full consultation.
Yeah, people are used to it. They're used to going and getting medicine, and like especially people coming from wanting to help medical issues or like not take their sleep medication, not take, you know, different things that may harm their bodies in the long run, but to make that change to it. it's you sit and they're like used to just being like told what to do, but cannabis isn't really like that because it's a journey. So it's like you have to also try these different things that may work better. This may work, and like that may work, and like keeping a journal, which is something that's like so like in a way like elementary, like, oh, you know, like should I write down how this is making me feel, but it really does make a difference to like understand how things react to in your body, and like even listening to your body more, right? Like getting to the point where you have a different mindset where you're like listening, healing, regenerating our bodies, and health is so important. Like that's like the journey that I'm on right now. Is like health is extremely important to life and living and to being on this planet and being here for a long time also. We got to understand what's going on in there.
Are you using any kind of specific regimens of cannabinoids for your personal health journey right now?
I do the THCV daily, the Emerald Spirit tincture, and then I take different plants and supplements, tinctures in the morning, and just to kind of I'm still finding out what works too, so I'm like rotating different ones, like St. John's wort, ashwagandha is a good one. Like stress, well, like I live a very high stress life, so taking different medicines, and like medicines are like so many things. Like I love like Adeola like does dance for medicine and all bunch of like different stuff, but taking these different medicines, you know, will help, and then it changes. Like I'm not at the same place I was last month, maybe.
True. It changes all the time. No, dance is actually, they're finding dance is actually a really good thing for anxiety people, because anxiety, you can actually like dance out the anxiety out of your body. So if you're having a lot of anxiety, even though it feels like I don't want to go get up and dance a bunch, it's actually like one of the best things you can do for yourself, for sure.
Yes, more dancing.
Yes. No, I love dancing. I did ballet when I was a kid for a couple of years, and I love dancing, and I love moving my body. And if I'm at home alone, I'll turn the music on and dance.
I'm a flash dancer. I will flash dance in Walmart and don't give a two shits. I don't know. It's my love language. And then dance found me too when I was going through, when Aiden was in the hospital. I had to my identity, and that was one thing that did save me. Was dancing. But I wanted to go back to what you were saying about supplements, because you can heal yourself naturally, like ashwagandha and a probiotic is really good for gut health. That's where like all diseases start.
Love my sauerkraut. I love trying to find probiotics naturally as possible. And sauerkraut, you can get a raw sauerkraut, and I mean it's so alive that when you open it, it makes like a little because the CO2 that the microbes and stuff are like eating in there, or like is in there. It's like it's really good. So eat your raw sauerkraut if you want some good.
What do you eat it with? Because I mean, someone told me to give Aiden that.
I put a little tahini on top.
Is this what? Wait, I'm sorry. Is this what you put on hot dogs sometimes, or no?
Yes, yes. But it's cabbage. It's pickled cabbage. If you like kimchi, it's kind of it's the German version of kimchi a little bit, minus the spice, obviously. But yeah, I get it at Costco, and I'll just stand there and eat it and drink the liquid, and that's kind of one thing. I drink a lot of kombucha as well for probiotics. And then I was going to tell you, so I helped somebody out recently. I really like mushrooms, and we're talking about like medicinal mushrooms, not the psychedelic kind here. But there's a couple things I'll share with you that you could take as well that really help with that. And like lion's mane is one of them. The reishi mushroom's really good for anxiety and focus. And then I always forget the word. I want to call it something else. But it's an orange mushroom, and my brain, it'll come back. But anyways, it really helps with your body's ability to dissolve oxygen into your body. And sometimes anxiety can have too much CO2 in your body. And so having something that can help your body like ingest more oxygen can really help your body deal with like stress and anxiety. So I'll share those with you.
The mushroom kingdom is this whole nother world.
It's
of
a
just
new
medicine, a medicine cabinet in itself.
It really is. Yeah. Yeah, no. I love, that's my new little like medicinal thing that I've been learning a lot about is the mushrooms, because I've done like the plants, and there are a lot of plants out there that do so many things, and some things we can't even get access to, but yeah, the plants and the mushrooms, like they're all the medicine you need is right there. You just got to get out there and get it, and luckily there's people that produce all that stuff now, like, so you can get turkey tail mushrooms or reishi mushrooms or whatever kind of mushroom you want, delivered right to your door. So it's very convenient nowadays. So.
Or just buying supplements. Like I give my kids every day. I give them a probiotic. I give them vitamin C. I give them a turmeric. And vitamin D is really good, especially for people who have melanin in their skin. And just taking those will keep you healthy. Like
because if your skin can't absorb the vitamin D from the sun, that's like it's like a natural, like a blockade from the sun. Yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah,
and vitamin D deficiency is a lot of, especially ethnic and our Black and brown community, where they get sick a lot. Don't have a lot of vitamin D.
Yeah, and that can make you really sad and depressed and all sorts of issues with vitamin D. I knew somebody who moved to Seattle, and they actually had to get there's a vitamin D light you can get. I don't know if you've ever heard. Yeah. I don't know if it'd work for you because of what we just said, but she had to get a vitamin D light and sit under it for an hour a day because she'd moved from California up there to Seattle, and they only have so much hours. Their body, she became vitamin D deficient from it basically, which I was like, that's crazy. But yeah, there's a vitamin D light that you can get that you could just sit under to absorb vitamin D, and it doesn't have the UV rays to cause the bad stuff that sun gives you or whatever. So that's fascinating. Anyways,
you gotta get the knowledge out to these people, because y'all be running to the hospital. I got something going on. They give you 2 pills, and you're like, why am I taking this? No, just go on Amazon and order some supplements, please. You will be fine. If you are diabetic and you have high blood pressure, you can take alpha lipoic acid. And you can buy that on Amazon. And if you have your high blood pressure going up, or you want your A1C to come down, take alpha lipoic acid.
Oh, that's a good one.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
Yeah, no,
I've been to the doctor. I'm pre-diabetic, and it's 2 times it worked. I went to the doctor, pre-diabetic, take it. I'm in normal range when I go get my labs. And then when I had my daughter, I had post-preeclampsia, and they had to try to lock me in the hospital. I was like, look, I spent 4 years in the hospital with Aiden. I'm getting the hell out, because it's thank God I've never been in legal trouble, but I would say that being in the hospital for 4 years is like being incarcerated. And so I took the alpha lipoic acid, and my blood pressure went back to normal. I got out there. So I got out.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. The plants really have it, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's incredible. It has been a great conversation with you today. I think we've shared so much for people to unpack. You guys, please go Google, reach out to her if you have more questions. She's happy to help you in any kind of way. Do you have a social?
Yeah, so I have Aiden's Relief at Instagram. That's AIDEN Relief, RELEAF. Or you can do Aiden's Relief at gmail.com to get in contact with me.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here. And Mindy, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
It's always
such a good conversation. Thanks so much for being on.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, we got to get the knowledge out there and each other.
Yeah, we'll have to have you back on again. We'll check back in with you and see how things are going.
I'm in transformation right now, so
we'll see the rebirth.
Stories, the rebirth, the glow up, right?
Yeah, I love it.
The snake has been very interesting. 2025 shit.
100%. Well, thank you, Adeola, again for being on the show, and thank all of you for tuning in with us today. If you're listening or watching, we really appreciate it. Drop us a comment, a like. It really helps grow the channel. And you can find Shsellsweed _podcast at Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere you can possibly be online. And thank you again for being here. Mindy, do you got any fine words you want to send us off with?
Just thanks to everyone for tuning in and listening to the stories, and comment if you want to interact with us, communicate. We'd love to hear from you guys too if there's any questions that you have. But thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
She sells weed.
Out.